He's a man who's climbed mountains, and I don't just mean metaphorically. He did Kilimanjaro last year. So a meeting with the new disability minister should be a piece of cake, but Martin Hibbert is taking this challenge just as seriously.
I know they've got a lot on the plate at the minute, so me rocking up and asking for things it's probably going to be low on the list, but, you know, he's given me his time, so we'll see.
So, as Vice President of the Spinal Injuries Association, what's on the agenda today?
Care, housing, transport, livelihoods and mental health. So they're the 5 main topics that, as a charity, but also as a disabled person, affect me on a daily basis. I want him to come on the front line. I want him to get in the trenches. I want him to see what disabled people have to go through every day. And he's only going to do that if he comes out and sees what it is.
And he's keen to point out that he's in it for the long haul.
I don't want it to be a day trip. I want this to be one of many meetings, in the hope that we look back on this 5 years in the future and we've changed lives for everybody.
And then it was time to go and meet the minister. It's really clear that this isn't going to be one of those interviews that's just about the optics, so it's going to be interesting to see what he manages to pin the minister down on. If anyone can, though, I reckon it's Martin. In the room, it was clear that Martin's lived experience of disability has a power that transcends politics.
That's what makes me feel disabled. It's not the spinal cord injury, it's not being in a wheelchair, it's people's attitude. Oh, I'm really sorry, Mr Hibbert, we don't have any accessible rooms. Or I'm sorry, Mr Hibbert, you can't get in the restaurant because there's no disabled toilets. We don't have a ramp, we don't have a lift.
And it's fair to say he made quite an impression on the minister. He's putting himself out there. He's not just come to chat. He wants things to change. He wants stuff to happen. Are you willing to take him up on that offer of help?
Definitely. And I don't think that there is any chance of me being able to ignore either Martin or Dan, both of whom I know will continue to raise these issues. And I see this as a partnership. But he is inspirational, and it was my privilege to meet with him this morning.
That's exactly how I felt too. Looking forward to seeing how this one pans out. Ruth Liptrot, 5 News.
Well, let's get more on this story from the man himself. Martin Hibbert is here in the studio. Thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for the invite.
OK, so we saw you having the meeting there. How did it go?
Really well. Like I say, as you can see from the VT, I was quite determined about what I wanted to speak about, but I was very conscious that I only had 30 minutes. I actually ended up taking a bit more of his time, and I ended up making him a bit late for the Prime Minister's questions, so apologies, Tom. But no, it was a serious topic, but what I didn't want to do is come away from that meeting with no real commitment. So I was really, really proud of myself about getting everything that we wanted to talk about and actually getting him to commit to a couple of things. And breaking news, I've had an email and the commitments that he made have already been put in his diary for the end of this month. So it was a great, and you know, he obviously did his research. He knew a lot about you know, the barriers for disabled people, which is great. And the most important thing, that he wants to see it for himself. So he, like I said in the VT, about, you know, coming onto the front line, getting in the trenches, as I say, seeing what we do as a charity, the lives that we're saving and changing every day. He needs to see that, and he's going to come and see that with us.
And what does that look like? So what were exactly the specifics that, you know, Tom seemed like he really was committed to?
What I wanted to do, I was there really in two guises. So I was there as a disabled person, but also I was representing the Spinal Injuries Association. So, and there's 5 key areas that affect both care, housing, transport, livelihoods and mental health. So I wanted to get that across, that, you know, if any of those 5 key areas falls away, my life as a disabled person falls away, and I'm not able to do the things that I do, you know, let alone climbing Kilimanjaro, or just going to the shops, or getting out of bed, or, you know, just doing simple things that as an able-bodied man I took for granted. So it was just getting that lived experience across and actually saying, you know, these 5 key areas, like the third, they need to use the third sector, the charity sector, you know, like the Spinal Injuries Association, because we're dealing with these people every day. We know the barriers that these guys are facing every day, and he's up for that. He's up for it.
And it's easy, I have to say, for ministers to make promises, but you really feel confident he will follow up on this?
Well, as he said, you know, he's not going to get away with it. Obviously, you know, I got that commitment, and I've already had his team with 2 dates in his diary for this month. So this isn't 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. He wants to do it this month. So that's great, you know. And again, it makes me believe that he takes his role seriously. And he's also asked me to be involved in a disability perceptions communication campaign. So he wants my ideas about how things get better in the future, which is fantastic.
So this is something that you've been speaking and you spoke to Dan about in his books. He's gutted he won't be here today. I mean, you're seeing him on Saturday anyway, right?
Yes, I'm taking him to the Manchester derby, yes. So he's going to be a Man United fan for the day.
Such a pleasure. Keep us posted.
I will, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Take care.